Hello everyone, welcome back to Zenith's Garden. Today we are going to be sowing seeds to spring slash summer type plants. Those plants are going to be tomatoes, squash, okra, cucumbers, and more. And we're also going to be transplanting the sunflowers because they are way too big in their tray right now. And I'm going to show you all how the other spring crops are going, because it's going to be ready for them to go into the ground soon. I will also be giving you all an update on the crops that I sowed March 22nd. They still have about another 2 weeks or so before they can be put into the ground. And I'll go into more detail about when you know those plants are ready to be transplanted into the ground. What kind of materials are you going to need to start your spring summer crops? We're basically using the same exact materials that we used in the previous videos where I showed when I started the spring crops. So of course you're going to need your seeds. I have a variety of different seeds here. You're going to need your plant pots or plant trays, like how I have these plant trays here. You're going to need measuring sticks and a ruler so that you can measure your seed depth. You're going to need water to pour on your seeds afterwards. And you're going to need soil, which I've already prepared the soil trays, because sometimes it can take a little bit to do that. And last but not least, you're going to need plant tags. Like I showed in a previous video, that you can make your own plant tags, reuse plant tags. You know, you don't always have to buy more plant tags every time you're preparing a new plant. So we are going to get started with that, and I'm going to show you all what the planting depth is for each plant, and basically about how long it's going to take before these plants can go into the ground. We're going to transplant the sunflowers first. So you see here, I've already transplanted one. So I'm going to show you how to correctly take out the plant when it comes to transplants. I always find the best ones and the biggest ones. I'm going to do this one. So I'm just going to kind of loosen it up a little bit. And then slowly you take it out. You see those nice, beautiful roots. That's what you want your plant to look like when you take it out. And then I'm going to make some space in my soil and drop that plant on in there. And you want to cover up the whole area where the roots are at. You don't want any of that area showing. So that's one. And we're going to do another one. Going to make the space, prepare the space for the plant. Pretty good little hole in there. I'm going to pick the next plant that I like the most. I'm going to move it around a little bit. Slide it out. This one has some nice roots as well. You always want your transplants to have really nice roots, because this is what's going to sustain it to grow when it gets into a new pot. When your root system is not the strongest, your plant's going to have a hard time transplanting to a new area, because its roots is not going to gain nutrients or water that the plant needs to grow. First set of seeds that we are going to sow are going to be tomatoes. Tomato seeds are fairly small, so you want to plant them about 1/4 inch into your soil. You see here. So I'm going to plant about 2 seeds each to get a good germination rate. So I have my planting stick. that I've already pre-measured. And you're gonna do this for every seed of the tomatoes. They're all planted a 1/4 inch into the soil. Okay. Next, we are going to do the tomato cherry. Like I said, they all pretty much look the same, the same size. Ooh, don't want to put the wrong seeds in the wrong packet. Okay, next we're going to do Better Boy tomato. That's what these look like. Okay. And lastly, beefsteak tomato, and that's what this one looks like. And squash seeds are pretty big, so you can usually plant these about 1 inch deep into the soil. As you see, they are big. So we are going to take this all the way in there. Plant those in there. And that's why I have the much bigger trays for the squash and tomatoes, because they have pretty, long root systems. All right. And, that's the same process for the other squash as well. Next, we are going to work on our peppers. This is what the peppers look like. They kind of look like what the tomato seeds look like. They're pretty small in depth, so you only want to plant them 1/4 deep into the soil. These are what the cucumber seeds look like. So these are planted about 1/2 inch deep into your soil. Okay. And last but not least, we have okra. Okra seeds are pretty big. So you want to plant them about a little over 1/2 inch into your soil. Sometimes it's hard to get these packets open. So this is what your okra seeds are going to look like. So I've never had experience planting pumpkin seeds before. This is what they look like. Pumpkin seeds are even bigger than the squash seeds. See if you can see that. So we're going to plant them in these big pots here, and I'm also going to do some direct sowing of the pumpkin seeds and see how that does versus transplanting, because just like squash, pumpkins don't like to be transplanted either. Okay, next we're going to talk about thinning out. So as you see, there's a lot of greenery right here. So we're going to thin out some of these plants, because when you have this many plants in one area, they can't all get the same amount of nutrients and water. And when you thin out as well, you can also take some of these plants that you thinned out and put them into another pot so that they can continue to grow. So to start off, I'm just going to start on this half over here, and I'm just going to thin out the smallest plants that I see. So this plant is pretty small compared to the rest of them. And you see how they still have roots? Like, you can possibly also, whenever you are thinning out or moving plants, you want to make sure that you have a bucket of water nearby, because they will dry out, and then you won't be able to plant them anymore. So I'm putting all of these plants that I'm going to keep in a bucket, because you just can't keep every plant. You know, some of these are just really small, so they're weak already starting off. Okay, so we're going to test out these plants here, and then these are going to go to the compost, because we've got plenty of more plants to thin out, as you see. So I've transplanted the mustards into a bigger pot, and we're gonna see how they do. As you see, there's still plenty of more that can be transplanted, but we're gonna have a lot of mustard greens. So an animal has dug into my carrots, unfortunately, and we think it's a raccoon that's been getting up here, so I'm gonna have to cover these at night. My parents have been taking care of my plants while I've been, you know, back and forth. So I'll have to tell them about that, but can't keep the animals away, can you? I directly sowed these into the garden February 21st. Also those mustards, these are kale. This is lettuce here, collards there. We planted radishes. This is one broccoli plant that came up, and then our beets are over here. So these have all been directly sown into the ground. I didn't transplant any of the plants that are here in the ground right now. Here are some mustard greens, some kale, pepper, and some cucumber plants that I'm going to be putting into the garden over here at home at my parents' place. So I've been setting up this garden for a couple of weeks now.